Hey guys, this is Tarkelson, and today I'm going to be doing a care video on Crested Geckos. So basically, the way I take care of them is not necessarily the bare minimum, but it's super basic. It's pretty much the easiest and cheapest way you can take care of them. I'm not doing elaborate setups only because I don't have an unlimited fund like a lot of people do, and I plan on breeding my two Crested Geckos as soon as they are adult size, or not adult size, but breeding size. So this will be a better, cheaper fit because I'm going to need a whole bunch of smaller tubs for the babies and such, and it's just an economical way. But here's my Crested Gecko, frog butt, trying to make a run for it. Gonna try and hold her, but she don't want to be held, so I'll just show you guys. So basically, the first thing you want, obviously, is the enclosure. Right here, I have a tub that is 24 by 18 by 18. 20 that's is 24 wide, 18 deep, and 18 tall. This is like the recommended minimum, I guess, for an adult Crested Gecko. These guys are still a bit smaller than an adult. They both got a little bit of growing to do. But yeah, this will last their entire lives, and they'll be happy in here. They got adequate space. So what I do, again, just to keep things simple and cheap, is I get these plastic tubs, and they're pretty cheap too. I get a set of two for I think $32 at Walmart. And they got these nice little doors that just flip up and lock in. And so since they are plastic tubs, I just drill a bunch of holes, and I was having trouble actually keeping the temperature low enough because I stuck them on top of Gucci's cage, and you'll see why I have these rags here in a later video, but that's Gucci's cage, and on top it gets really warm, so inside of these cages it gets about 80 degrees. If I didn't drill as many holes as I did, it would probably be in the 90s in these cages, because for some reason these plastic tubs hold temperature really well. So I drilled like 30 holes in this stupid thing, but it works. Up here I actually just have a piece of PVC pipe that I cut to size and just stuck in there. It sits nice and firm. Except now it's sliding, but it sits nice and firm and holds so it won't fall or anything, and it just gives them a nice way to easily walk past. Eventually, on my next paycheck, I'm going to get a few more PVC pipes and stick them all across, just because, I want more vertical space for them to climb other than the walls. And they got this nice bush here, and a lot of people would say that's not enough hiding space. I believe it is because obviously they're very comfortable. They're not super scared of me. I mean, she's kind of flighty, but she's always been that way. But it's a pretty thick bush, so she can go and hide in there and crawl around and all that. And yeah, that's basically it as far as care goes. I actually have a paper towel substrate because if you keep like Eco Earth or something in these tubs, it's really easy to grow mold because there's not very good ventilation. So I just keep paper towels and I replace them like once every week or 2 weeks, depending on how dirty they get. And right there you see her crusty old food. And I just stuck a live pothos in Rolo's cage because I figured it would help keep up the humidity a little bit. Not that I have problems with it, but still. And natural plants actually, from what I've seen with these two, it makes them a lot happier. So I'm going to get another giant pothos I have for Frogbutt's cage. He has the exact same setup. Like I said, I'm going to add more vertical climbing stuff because you can see they like to run along branches and such. So yeah, that's pretty much it on enclosures. Alright, so here are basically the key supplies for your Crested Geckos. There's about 4 of them. I mean, there's a few extra things you could consider, but these are the main, like, completely necessary, for sure, things that you need. So here's the first one. It's a Crested Gecko diet. Now you got to make sure they're like complete formula or complete diet or whatever, because if they're not, like the off-brand Petco stuff, It's not a complete diet, and a lot of people feed those to their crested geckos only, and then they end up getting MBD because it doesn't have the proper nutrients and calcium and all that. But back to the Crested Gecko diet, I recommend Pangea. They are by far the best brand I've ever used. I've used Rapashi and several other brands, and while they do like them, Pangea is just the highest quality, and I mean it's the same price as the other ones, so you might as well get the one they like the most. Mine love the banana and apricot the most. A big favorite among the Crested Gecko community is the banana and apricot and the watermelon and something other, because they just like those fruits. Another one that came out with it is actually more expensive than the normal fruit blends. Is it has insects in it, which they seem to be drawn to like crack. So I'll have to try that out at some point. But yeah, that's that. Next part is feeding dishes. So I just like to collect these bottle caps from when I drink. I mean, you should see how many I have. I have like 30 of them. But I like to collect them from the water bottles I drink because they're cheap. I use them for about a month, maybe 2 months, but usually just a month because they do start to get kind of crusty and nasty. So then you can just throw them away, grab a new one, and there you go. Because, you buy these expensive, $20, $30, $40 Crested Gecko ledges, and, they get all nasty and stuff. Even if you buy the replaceable cups, the ledge itself gets pretty crusty and gross, and then you always have to clean it. And they're just so ridiculously expensive. So I just get these and I stick them on the floor, and they don't seem to care. I've tried to elevate them, and they really don't. I don't really see a difference as far as eating goes between it being on the floor and being on the like at a higher elevation. Next important thing I'd say is probably plants. Not necessarily plants, but some kind of thick something other that they can climb on and hide in. As you can see right here, this is, I think Zoomed is the brand, reptile plant that you can buy at Petco, PetSmart, and other retailers. They're like 10, $15, which is a ridiculous price for what they are because it's just a cheap plastic plant. So what I actually go and do is I go to the dollar store, and you get bushels like 3 times this size for $1 because it's the dollar store, and I just cut off a few extra things, and that's what I have in Rollo and Frogbut's enclosure, and it's so much cheaper. And when I get my babies, I'll probably cut this in half and stick each half in their enclosures because you cut it in half, and that's still pretty big bushes for them to hide in. And it's so cheap. So the last final thing I think you guys should get, which helps me a lot. I mean, if you have one Crested Gecko, it's not really necessary. Just get like a little smaller sprayer from the dollar store or something. But I have 2 Crested Geckos and a Savannah Monitor and a few other animals that need to be sprayed down every now and then. So it's just easier to do this because it keeps refilling at a minimum, and it makes it so much faster to spray. It's falling over. Oh, there it goes again. They don't keep balance well, but right here you can see it's got a nice long nozzle so you can reach into the cage without having to get inside of it, And you can adjust the spray on the end of the nozzle here so you can cover a huge area rather than just one tiny one. And rather than going all over the place, you just hold this down and you spray it down. Makes it so much faster and easier, and it soaks in a lot better. Right here I've got the 1 gallon like reinforced or whatever. It was $20 versus the like $10 one, because I had the $10 one and it broke within a month. I've had this thing for like 8 months and haven't had any complaints because the whole thing right here is made out of metal, while on the $10 one it's plastic, and the cable, or not the cable, the tubing is reinforced with wire cord, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this makes your job a whole lot easier. Another thing that a lot of people have a controversy with is water dishes. Now, I don't personally use water dishes because it's really unnecessary. They rarely drink. They will drink from water dishes if they get desperate, but for the most part, they don't really recognize it as an actual water source. So what I do is, I have this and I just hose down the entire cage, and that leaves water droplets all over the place for like 2 hours. And so that gives them plenty of time to drink, and I make sure I gently spray them down every time. to make sure, they get enough water, and I haven't ever had any issues with shedding or dehydration or anything like that. Wrap up this video just to kind of help things out, because I know a lot of people have trouble with this part of Crested Gecko care is handling. And it's fairly easy. These are super docile lizards for the most part. I mean, some of them have trouble being handled, but mine are relatively tame. She's a bit flighty, which is why she'll be a good example for this. But for the most part, they don't really care. I like to poke mine in the nose. Oh, she fell. Maybe not while they're on the roof. But what I like to do is either stick a finger. I'm actually watching through the camera, so this is difficult. But I stick a thumb or a finger underneath their belly, and they just kind of come onto you naturally like that. Don't jump. She likes to jump. But yeah, you just stick a finger underneath their belly or underneath their head and kind of just gently lift up, and they'll just naturally grab onto you. Even if they're super flighty, it's just their natural reaction so they don't fall. And yes, as crested geckos, they jump a lot. This one more so because, as I've said several times throughout the video, she's jumpy. But see, she's relatively calm when she's out of her cage and being handled. And oh, you're gonna go off camera. Where are you going? You're off camera. Silly lizard. But they tend to like to explore for how calm and nice they are. But she's licking me. But yeah, she doesn't like to be pet much, but I do it anyways. But yeah, that's basically it. And oh, you ran into the metal bar, you silly goose. But yeah, that's basically it on handling. Pretty straightforward. Just don't, grab them and yank up, especially if they have tails, because that's why her tail is gone as the breeder as a baby. And it's not that he's the bad breeder, it's just because, sometimes you have to rush to pull them out so you can sell them or to check on them and stuff. And as you're pulling, you don't pay attention to the tail and they're grabbed on and it just bloop, comes off. And unfortunately, crested geckos never regrow their tail, so she'll always have this weird little thingy here. But it doesn't seem to bother them much. And in captivity, they don't really need their tail because they're not jumping from tree to tree all the time, so they don't need too much balance. That's why she's a bad jumper, though, is because she don't got a tail. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.